Over the past week, a number of academics who self-identify as atheist or agnostic have been systematically targeting Dr. David Falk, an Egyptologist best known for his work on ancient Egypt, the Old Testament of the Bible, and the relationships between the two. Falk has gained popularity over the past several years through his YouTube channel, Ancient Egypt in the Bible, where he presents the evidence available that corroborates the claims within the Bible, particularly the synchronicities within Exodus and late Bronze Age Egypt. This content caught my eye several years ago, and I have watched his content extensively due to my fascination with the late Bronze Age, first kindled during my college years. However, for others, particularly those who don't agree with his position, nor the evidence presented, they saw it as a direct challenge and have, for the past year, tried to chip away at his work and, more disturbingly enough, the man himself. Late in January of 2023, Dr. Falk would make several comments about a particular academic of the feminine sex that some took offense with, though the point was accurate. In this, these secular scholars rallied together and formed a conspiracy against Dr. Falk. They petitioned the institution that Dr. Falk worked for, the Vancouver School of Theology, and had him fired from the institution, resulting in the revocation of his privileges needed to continue his research. At the same time, this same cabal of callous academics in cahoots also attempted to target Dr. Falk's wife and tried to have her fired for no better reason than her being married to the man they so deeply despised. This behavior, the deliberate targeting of a man they didn't agree with merely for not agreeing with them, is disturbing. And yet, I expected this. The statement Dr. Falk made, specifically about how some academics will use their charm and charisma to win the hearts and minds of people, is not at all a problem. It is a correct assertion. The issue of people trying to use their charm to sell bad or flawed ideas is universal to both men and women. For men, they will use a strong sense of confidence and energetic charisma to sell their terrible ideas, often hidden behind mots of comedy and entertainment, but can be seen in other forms such as bold leadership and supreme confidence. The former is something that we see often with the likes of Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert, nostalgia critic, and, for one that I have covered personally, Alton Shea. The latter is what we often see through ambitious men, your Caesars, or, as we see in Frank Herbert's Dune novels, a Paul Atreides. For women, they only need to use their feminine charms to win over men. A little bit of cleavage showing for a decent-looking woman can get most any man to listen to them, to believe whatever they say. This is not merely sexist, but an observable trend. A trend as old as time. Take the example of Samson being misled from his faith in the Lord by Delilah in Judges 16, leading to her cutting his hair. There is also the example of King Ahab's wife, Jezebel, who controlled him and convinced him to smite the prophets of Yahweh. Both examples see a leader being misled by such ambitious and power-hungry women to see men be bent to their will to then commit truly wicked acts. Charisma and charm are powerful tools, and, just as with any tool, it can be abused by those seeking power and glory for themselves. This abuse stems from the flawed nature of humanity, for our sinful nature in the notion of the belief in our own superiority over others. It is a manifestation of the sin of pride. This I can see because I came to the realization of my sinful nature and my desire to become a better, more faithful man. This can even be discerned by most anyone who maintains their moral scruples, even those who may question their belief. However, for the atheist, this is hard to discern, if they even choose to discern it at all, for they have chosen to reject this, and any such morality coming from a God they have chosen to reject out of pride. This brings me to the core issue with this entire situation. The reason these people have chosen to target Dr. Falk is not because he is wrong. If he were wrong, then he would be simply laughed at and left alone, as we see with the likes of many evangelicals. No, the reason why these people target Dr. Falk is they do not wish to be wrong and forced to face the rub of their misdeeds, the failures of their own explanations, and the real possibility that their atheism might not be the right position. If Dr. Falk is correct, and the Bible has a solid basis in fact, then this would not only force the atheistic academics to admit defeat, but force them into the position of having to completely rethink their entire system of belief and confront the realities of their misdeeds. It is this position of realignment that they seek to avoid at all costs, which is why they have to latch onto something as petty as a singular comment that is not even remotely offensive outside of the person guilty of the act. If they can destroy Dr. Falk's career and discredit him as much as possible, then they never have to face the reality of being wrong. But Boots, you may ask, why would these atheistic academics do this? What would lead anyone to do such a despicable thing? The answer lies within their belief they seek to defend, their atheism. Atheism, according to the broadest definition imaginable, is merely the quote-unquote lack of belief in a god or gods. This definition I find to be too broad, as it can include virtually anyone who lacks belief at any time. A man who briefly lacks belief for 2 seconds must be an atheist, after all. Rather, from a strict definition, atheism is the rejection of the belief in a god or gods, or the outright argumentation that those things do not exist. A position I see all too often among online atheists. With the rejection of God comes with it an unforeseen consequence, the rejection of the morality that was built and established by God. This issue Nietzsche specifically addressed as a part of his statement on the death of God, which, one way, he lamented as it meant morality would have to be reconstructed. It is this destruction of morality through atheism that leads to these truly despicable acts often witnessed by those who choose to reject the existence of God. Many of the tragedies of the 20th century, particularly the crimes committed by the communists in Spain, the Soviet Union, Communist China, and elsewhere, can find their place in the fundamental rejection of God and the rejection of the morality built upon it. This was foreseen nearly 4 centuries ago by an English philosopher, one many libertarians or those well learned in the founding of the United States may know by the name of John Locke. In A Letter Concerning Toleration, John Locke discussed the notion of religious tolerance, how different branches of the Christian faith can learn how to cooperate with one another, and made the argument for religious tolerance. Yet, John Locke makes a very explicit exception in the form of atheism. In this, he states the following: "Lastly, those are not at all to be tolerated who deny the being of a God. Promises, covenants, and oaths, which are the bonds of human society, can have no hold upon an atheist. The taking away of God, though but even in thought, dissolves all. Besides also, those that by their atheism undermine and destroy all religion can have no pretense of religion whereupon to challenge the privilege of a toleration." Even the man who is largely responsible for the proposal of religious tolerance, the man who deeply influenced classical liberal thought, including the ideas of the Founding Fathers, could not see atheism in a positive light because of the insidious effects it has upon a person. The issue with atheism is the denial of God also denies the morality crucial in maintaining a civil society. Like a house built upon sandy soil by the sea, it slowly erodes away the moral scruples necessary to ensure civil discourse and civil society in turn. Locke even called out the insidious nature of atheist religion bashing, for it is the antithesis of religious toleration, for it is intolerable to any and all beliefs that are not atheism. The reason why these atheistic academics target those they disagree with is because they have no concept of a toleration of religion and don't have the moral scruples preventing them from doing absolutely terrible things to those they disagree with. If we lived in a time similar to Locke's time, or a society built upon Locke's principles, these people would never have been tolerated, and rightfully so. After all, the taking away of God, though but even in thought, dissolves all, even for intellectuals.